Go.
Down goes Kevin McCarthy. Down goes Kevin McCarthy. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Kind of.
Did we though? Did we?
We didn't really get him. Matt Gaetz kind of got him. Let's tell you all about it.
Well, why don't we start with this?
On this vote, the yeas are 216, the nays are 210. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has been ousted by members of his own party. This followed the decision by Republican Representative Matt Gaetz to file a motion to remove McCarthy from the speakership. Now, the ability to move the speaker used to be far more difficult back in the day. You would need the majority of House members to vote on whether they should proceed with a vote to remove the speaker. But in this case, all it took was one member of Congress to file a motion to remove McCarthy. In this case, it was Matt Gaetz, and that was a concession that the House Freedom Caucus, the more far-right portion of the Republican Party, had received from McCarthy in favor of essentially voting in favor of the debt ceiling bill several months ago. Now, the final vote was 216 to 210, and it does strip McCarthy of his speakership role, and it's been reported that 8 House Republicans voted to oust him. So there you have it. Now, if you're wondering, well, what does this mean? Is there a speaker who's in charge now? Well, we're gonna get to that in a moment, but I do think it's important to also name names of the Republicans who voted to oust him, include Ken Buck, Andy Biggs, Tim Burchett, and also Eli Crane, Bob Good, Nancy Mace, and Matt Rosendale. Now, Republican Congressman from North Carolina, Patrick McHenry, gavelled the House into recess. And honestly, he seemed pretty upset about it. Let's watch the video and then I'll explain why.
Pursuant to Clause 8B3 of Rule 1, I'll now act as Speaker pro tem. The chair will inform the members of the House the following. The office of the Speaker was rendered vacant pursuant to the adoption of House Resolution 757. In the opinion of the chair, prior to proceeding to the election of a Speaker, it would be prudent to first recess for the relative caucus and conferences to meet and discuss the path forward. Accordingly, pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess subject to the call of the chair.
He seemed pretty salty when he was banging that gavel. And I think the reason why is because he did not want to oust McCarthy. He was not one of the Republicans who voted in favor of it. And now that McCarthy has been voted out, he will serve, McHenry will serve as the Speaker pro tem until a new speaker is decided on. Now, a few names have been floating around. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, Cenk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm a little bit surprised Ken Buck's on that list. He's trying to get a job on CNN, trying to seem reasonable these days. So I don't know what happened. It's a topsy-turvy world. Nancy Mace is on the list. Nancy Mace is supposed to be one of the moderates in the Republican Party, which, by the way, this is a fun little super side story, but I was just in DC a couple of days ago. I ran into Nancy Mace at the airport, and she said, "Young Turks, right?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "You guys crap all over me, but it's fun." Okay, and I agree, it's fun. This is also fun. I don't know why she partook in this fun. Okay, but she did. Now, the most important thing for me is what can we get out of it, right? So, like, people think like, okay, well, McCarthy's gone now because this seat is vacant. He lost it, it's over. It's not over. You think it's over? They need a speaker at some point. So yes, they can replace him with someone else, which we're gonna get to, or they could just go back to McCarthy. And are they gonna get these guys to bend? Maybe they will, maybe they'll offer them a couple of goodies and it'll be, it'll do the job. Or he might need Democratic votes. If he needs Democratic votes, then I have a plan. We'll talk about that plan in a minute.
Well, it's fascinating that you mentioned that because Democrats were united in not helping McCarthy out. But first I want to answer your question about Nancy Mace. So Nancy Mace spoke to reporters following the vote, and she said that she felt compelled to vote against Kevin McCarthy because he has not kept his promises. So that is her retaliation for promises that have not been kept.
Interesting, so she kind of maced them.
She maced him, she definitely maced him. And if she does enjoy watching the show, especially as we bash her, rightfully so, for her bad behavior, she's gonna love this show even more. Keep watching, we're gonna keep doing it.
All right.
And then we give her credit when credit's due.
That's what we do,
Right.
that's what we do, it's not personal.
Exactly.
Okay, so look, now the Democrats are saying, well, if he wants our votes, so the first set of feelers have gone out, right? And I saw a list of demands and they sucked. They were like, hey, we want more earmarks. That's pork barrel projects in their districts. Okay, and they said, we want our committee members to have more power. Oh, so this is all about you. Like, no, I'm not interested in any of that. That's totally useless to the American people. You can say, oh no, but my constituents are gonna be helped by the new post office or whatever. Okay, congrats, okay, but that has nothing to do with the rest of us. So what we really need is at least one progressive priority. And I talked to Representative Ro Khanna about this when I was in DC. We had an interview and he said, yeah, that makes perfect sense. We should ask for a couple of progressive priorities. And by the way, they're not just progressive, they're Democratic priorities. By the way, they're not just Democratic priorities, they're American priorities. You know the one I'm gonna say, paid family leave, polls at 84%, 74% of Republicans want it. All we want is a vote. They'll think we're gonna lose the vote anyway, but we can win the vote, right? Asking for a vote on that is the bare minimum. Will the Democrats do the bare minimum? No way. My guess is that they will go hoard more power for themselves and not ask for a single concession on a single bill. But that doesn't mean we should give up hope. In fact, I believe in Operation Hope, which we've launched here, where you guys can go to tyt.com and figure out how to pressure the Democrats to actually ask for something. So then we can figure out how to pressure the Republicans to actually pass the piece of legislation. But this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity. They might need our votes. Otherwise, they would never need our votes, and we can't get anything done in these 2 years.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on a kind of a lengthy spiel, just let me get through it and then you can comment. So Democrats did consider helping McCarthy out in return for some concessions. I agree with you that the concessions that they were considering were weak sauce to say the least, but that is what I personally have come to expect from the Democratic Party. Over the weekend, I got into a rather drunken debate on a girls' trip with women that I had met for the first time, who were, the typical people who like to provide cover for weak sauce Democrats. And I kept repeating over and over again, the left has no imagination. The left has no imagination. And it's because it's true, right? Like you have Republicans who, for better or worse, shoot for the sky when it comes to their demands. A lot of them are nonsensical, but they try anyway. You don't see that with Democrats. But in the end, Democrats were united in not supporting Kevin McCarthy or even reaching out to him for concessions because of the fact that over the weekend, he went on network news and he blamed Democrats for getting us super close to a government shutdown. So he wanted to put the blame on the Democratic Party when we all know that's not what actually happened. When we all know that it was the House Freedom Caucus, the more conservative Republicans in the House Caucus who were basically wanting to force a government shutdown. That is what they're mad at Kevin McCarthy because of the fact that we are not experiencing a government shutdown today. Okay, so that's really the situation here. But on top of that, they were concerned about what this would appear or how this would appear to their constituents, considering the fact that McCarthy is in fact a Trump loyalist who has provided cover for Trump's behavior, which incited the chaos and the rioting on January 6th. So look, I think that if Democrats were able to shoot for the stars and if they were able to get a concession that their constituents would find favorable, maybe they could spin this as a win if they helped McCarthy out. But A, they have to think of the concession, they have to think of something good. B, they have to fight for that concession. I don't ever see that happening. And C, they have to do a decent job marketing that they helped McCarthy out in return for that concession. That's a lot of work for Democrats, something that they're either incredibly rusty at or have never even tried, depending on which member we're talking about.
Yeah, if you're new to progressive politics, and then you'll be used to mainstream media telling you there's nothing the Democrats could ever do, right? So, and then you always have to accept surrender, and you always have to accept nothing, and you have to say, oh, but it's what the other guys are worse. Look, this thing that I'm calling Operation Hope, where we actually try to work together on TYT.com and try to force pressure from the outside to get something done. The core of it is get caught trying. It's not that hard to just try something, anything. And Democrats are forever telling us, no, we can't even try. No, don't try to beat Biden. No, just let him lose to Trump. He's down 13 points from where he was when he beat him. It's okay, just lose. Don't try. You get a concession from McCarthy, don't try. Just give me a little bit more power, good enough, don't try. Try to pass paid family leave, higher minimum wage, don't try. I'm sick of it. We're all sick of it. And it's not just progressives, all Democratic voters are sick of it. Stop being brainwashed by mainstream media telling you not to try. Get caught trying, okay? So this is a perfect opportunity. Everybody's like, oh my God, look at the Republicans, they're such a mess. Okay, and then what? Okay, so what? So they're like, oh, don't vote with the Republicans to put a Republican in the speakership. Well, what are we gonna get, a Democrat? I mean, I would try it, by the way. I'd try that too. I'd go to the Freedom Caucus. It's a very low probability event, but I say, what do you guys want most? You want votes on single issue bills? Okay, make a Democrat the Speaker of the House, and I'll get you votes on single issues. So what? Well, we can do that compromise, right? That's the thing you want most, let's do it. Now, it's not gonna work, but it would be amazing to try, and it's got a 10% chance to work. Oh, they never even think about it, right? Okay, then go to the more realistic opportunity. Okay, you guys, either you're gonna make concessions to the right wing, or you're gonna make concessions to us. Make concessions to us, right? But there, guys, you will see with your own eyes if you're new to this. Hakeem Jeffries will try nothing except to accrue a little bit more power for himself and Democratic leaders. And at the end of the day, they'll have another Republican just like either McCarthy or just like McCarthy come back in by making more ridiculous concessions to the right. They'll do the more drama about the shutdown, and you guys will get absolutely nothing out of it.
So to your point, I'm gonna read an excerpt from the Times, and they're reporting on why Democrats decided to do what they did. Democrats had wrestled with whether to help McCarthy survive or at least to stay out of the effort to oust him. But in a closed door meeting on Tuesday morning, Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York, the minority leader, instructed fellow Democrats not to do so, citing Republicans' unwillingness to break from MAGA extremism. But let me also be clear, I mean, whoever they choose to replace McCarthy, I believe is likely to be even more extreme than McCarthy was in terms of providing cover for MAGA extremism within the Republican Party.
Yeah, there is no Republican that's gonna come out and go, oh no, you guys were right, Trump's a bad guy. Is that, I mean, please don't tell me that's what you're waiting for. Not gonna happen, okay? It's either gonna be just as slavish devotion as McCarthy has, and licking Trump's right boot, or it's gonna be another guy who's even worse, licking Trump's left boot. It doesn't matter. They're not gonna turn on a guy who's got a 40-point lead in the Republican primaries. Just please understand politics, right?
And McCarthy just did he thought that he could straddle, right? Because there are so-called moderate Republicans in the House who do not like the House Freedom Caucus because they're running for re-election in swing districts, in purple districts. And so the extremism doesn't bode well for their chances at getting re-elected. So McCarthy had to try to appeal to them while also trying to appeal to the far right wing of the Republican Party. And the problem with that is you can't really straddle the two. And so he tried to push back as much as he could when it came to the government funding bill. But then remember, he also conceded on their demands to open an impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden without a shred of evidence of Biden engaging in any wrongdoing or criminality.
Yeah, I want to be super clear. There are no good guys here.
Right.
You make the best of a bad situation. First of all of Washington is toxic, right? So then Kevin McCarthy not only devoted to Trump, impeaching Biden for no reason because the right wing put pressure on him. And then it was never good enough for the right wing anyway. For the right wing, they want to defund the entire Department of Justice, have complete lawlessness, have the right wing Gestapo run the whole place, right? And if you don't give them the Gestapo, they're not going to say yes, right? So like sometimes I get the sense from the establishment that they think like, oh, there are cooler heads here and moderate Republicans will prevail. But who are the moderate Republicans? Even if you found the most moderate Republican there is in the House, it's still a person who's a corporatist, who believes that you should give everything to their donors, right? I mean, so it's not like there are any good guys at all, right? So they've never proposed anything that helps the American people. The only thing they ever propose is build a wall, we would keep the Mexicans out, and tax us for the rich, tax us for the rich. So that's it, there is no good options. The only question is, what can we get in return for somehow keeping the government going? And so just look out for our voters in this mess instead of going ha ha to the Republicans, which doesn't really do you any good. You're never gonna get anyone good to be their leader. So stop waiting or dreaming for that. It's not gonna happen.
Olivia Beavers on X, formerly known as Twitter, says that there is a group of House Republicans huddled and praying on the House floor. Representative Ann Wagner appears to be crying. So Republicans are having a tough go at things in the House. But to your point, Cenk, in regard to the most moderate Republicans in the House, I mean, Nancy Mace is considered a moderate Republican and is in fact running for re-election in a purple district, which is part of the reason why, after the reversal of Roe became a reality in America, she went on a press tour speaking out against the decimation of reproductive rights in America. Now, does she genuinely care about reproductive rights, or is she doing it specifically to appear moderate and increase her chances at re-election? Honestly, with politicians these days, I go toward the more cynical route. I think that it's to appear moderate. But at the end of the day, they're going to always provide cover for the most extreme elements of their party. And that's exactly what Nancy Mace did today by voting to oust Kevin McCarthy for, I guess, not providing enough cover for MAGA Republicans and for not keeping his promises. Although that is such a vague thing to say, what exactly did McCarthy do that you're so unhappy with that you think another member of your party could handle better than McCarthy?
Yeah, he must have screwed over on a backroom deal, because otherwise it doesn't make sense what she's doing. And he must have promised her something and then lied, which is Kevin McCarthy 101. He lies to everyone. He lied to Biden. So, oh, we got a deal, don't worry, we're not gonna question shutting the government down. And then what's the first thing he did? He questioned shutting the government down. So he always lies. I mean, is this a surprise as politicians? But I wanna give last word to one of our members. I love our members, they're so smart. And we do that. I like doing the show with them and putting our comments, their comments in. This is a YouTube member, Benjamin Gilbert Liff. He said, we should find a Republican and vote for them in exchange for a standalone child tax credit bill. See, that's two good ideas. See, that's why I'm starting Operation Hope, because you guys have as good ideas as anyone does, okay? So number one, yes, that's a great idea. Why don't we say, okay, we're willing to work with that Republican, but not that one, okay? If you want our votes. And so they'll chafe at that. They'll be like, oh, the Democrats aren't gonna pick our leader, but already you've got them backpedaling. And already if they want their guy, they're gonna have to make an extra concession to you, right? And the child tax credit bill is incredibly popular, just as popular as paid family leave is. And it's super popular in places like West Virginia, in the South, etc. It's a great idea, Benjamin, okay? And so, will anyone in Washington have any idea halfway as good as one of our members on the Young Turks?
Probably not.
Probably not, but keep them coming, I love it. And by the way, if you want to be a member, you hit the join button below the video on YouTube or tyt.com/join. Look guys, no matter what anybody in Washington does, we're gonna fight forward and we're gonna fight together and we're gonna try to get to a better place.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below, because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.